Okay, guys, we're back for Between Rounds. This time we got our good friend, Al Escobar, ERIS Physical Therapy, all things physical therapy, I guess, physical development. I don't know. How long have we known each other?
Well, I was thinking about that the other day. It's been since 2010, so about 16 years.
Wow. And that's when you were training at the old lab, right? And we met. I remember you were a jiu-jitsu student for a little while.
Yeah. I did some jiu-jitsu, but then I did a lot of striking with Adam
Yep.
and then Rufus.
Yes.
And then, but the main thing was for a while before I even started was my kids,
Yep.
Trey and Ella.
I remember Ella being in the classes. I don't remember Trey as much. Was he? Because we were just talking about their ages. So Trey's 26.
He's 26 now. Ella's just turned 23.
Oh, I remember him in the jiu-jitsu classes.
Yeah. He was like right away. He started, and then he found out there was a jiu-jitsu tournament 2 weeks later, and he wanted to do it. It was like day one, and Ronaldo, one of the instructors that he had, I said, well, what do you think? He goes, well, let's give it a week and a half and let's see how he's doing. And, if he jumps in the tournament, then we'll see how he does.
Had he wrestled at all before?
No, he hadn't wrestled yet. I actually started him working with Grits a little bit on wrestling to basically complement his jiu-jitsu for takedown and takedown defense in the tournaments. So that's how he started.
That's cool. I remember you being in class. I remember trying to get you to relax because you were so physical.
Oh yeah. Too stiff, too tight, too competitive.
Yeah. It's hard not to be though.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of like that when we start. So, where were you born? I want to know. I want to go back to the beginning of this.
Okay. So I was born in Havelock, North Carolina.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How'd you get there? Your dad was a Marine, right?
He was a Marine, so we moved around like every 2 to 3 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you are, and I was wondering about this. What is your real name? Like your full name?
My full name is Atilano.
Atilano.
Yeah.
I'm always scared to say it because it's so cool looking. I don't want to blow it.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. I haven't ever met anyone with my name except for my dad and my son.
Yeah. So you're a junior.
I'm a junior.
And Trey's the third.
He's the third. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What ethnic background is that? I've never heard that name before.
I believe. Well, my dad is Mexican. He was Mexican, and my grandmother was Spanish, but it was my grandpa. My grandpa's name was actually Apollonio, but my great grandfather's name was Atilano.
Oh, nice.
So I guess I would be the fourth, but it just kind of started with my dad, and then my son became the third.
What a cool name, though.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, and then my mom is Filipino, so she's 100% Filipino. She lived there most of her, until she was 30.
Yeah.
And then
in North Carolina.
Well, she was from the Philippines.
Oh,
my dad met her in the Philippines, so they got married, and then.
So he was stationed out in the Philippines.
He was, yeah.
And he was just too handsome to resist.
Exactly, yeah.
He looked like you, so that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then they moved to North Carolina, and as it would be, I would be the only boy born in the entire family, so it was up to me to carry on the family name.
Nice.
So, I actually think there was a bet that my mom and dad had to see. She said it's going to be a boy, and he said, "I bet you $100 it's not." And I think that's his way of kind of like wanting it to happen, and wanting to lose. So, yeah. And then from there we moved to Phoenix for a little bit, then then down to Yuma. My middle sister was born, and then up to Washington D.C. at Andrews Air Force Base. And it was like a special assignment because my dad's a Marine. What's he doing on an Air Force base? So he was probably working on Air Force One.
Yeah.
And then back down to North Carolina for 2 or 3 years, and then we ended up in Phoenix in 1979.
And how old were you then? 9?
9. Yeah.
9. And then you lived here forever and ever. Mm-hmm. Do you like Phoenix?
I do.
Is it where you'd like to have been, or?
I can't really imagine living anywhere else. Yeah. We can always visit all the other parts of the country. But yeah, I like Phoenix.
Yeah. Did your dad and mom stay here?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, cool.
So my dad, he passed away back in '99. But my mom's still here, and she only lives like 5 minutes away from me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so we can take care of her.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you started. What kind of athletics did you start when you were young? Were you always into sports?
Yeah. My dad put me into judo when I was really young, and then t-ball and football. And then when I got to high school, I just played football, and then I only wrestled one season. I wish I would have done more. But when I look back, maybe it was a good thing that I didn't. Wrestling wasn't something that I did all the time or took on as the only sport, because maybe it would have been different for Trey.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have pushed him too hard, or expected.
You went to Sunny Slope, is that right? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what weight did you wrestle? High school.
10 at the time. I think it was 108.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wasn't a big
Did
kid.
you enjoy it?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I wish I would have kept going, but back then, my dad was always working, so I didn't have somebody pushing me.
Right.
And I think I needed, someone at home to do things with me and push me in that way.
I was going to ask you seem so motivated and you love what you do so much. Were you always like that with sports, that kind of stuff, or did you come to it later?
No, I think most of the time things came to me easy.
Yeah.
I think part of that was for me, we were kind of like, my mom being from the Philippines, she didn't really know how to guide us or direct us in sports. So my dad would put me in Pop Warner football, and then if he could, he'd show up to games every once in a while. But I think the motivation did come from my dad in terms of like the way he taught me how to think, and problem solve. And so that's where, him always believing in me, always saying, son, I believe in you more than you believe in yourself, kind of thing, just to kind of push me a little bit. And so it was always him instilling that discipline in me and teaching me how to solve problems. So when I look at things, I don't think there's anything I can't solve. I just have to be resourceful and
find the way.
And find a way. Yeah.
Oh, what a great gift for a dad to give his son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty profound, honestly. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, and
that's amazing.
It's interesting because you'd think that all dads do that for their children, and I found out over the years, just in conversations with athletes, with patients, that's not as common as you would think.
You'd think it would just be common sense, But I think, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a trained psychologist, but I've seen a lot of people dealing with that kind of thing too. I think people think they're motivating them, think they're helping them certain ways, and it's really not. When all you really need is some love and support back there.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, keep going.
Yeah.
It's okay. Just keep going. That's a cool thing. I love hearing that about your dad. How many sisters do you have?
Two.
So
one like 2 years younger, and then I have one that's 6 years younger.
Nice. Do you keep in touch with them good?
I do. We're all busy, of course. My middle sister, she's here in Phoenix, and I think she's working more in like finance, life insurance policies, those kinds of things. And then my youngest sister is in Atlanta, and she's a attorney, so she's in-house counsel for a company called McKesson.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Everybody's high achievers. Yeah.
So just keep
Dad,
pushing
mom
to make
did
things
well.
happen. Yeah, we're really fortunate to have parents that supported us and pushed us.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So then you go to NAU. What led you there?
Physical therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was an interest of yours right off the bat.
It was. So like when I was a senior, I was thinking, go to medical school.
Yeah.
And because my dad was an aircraft mechanic in the Marine Corps, I thought aeronautical engineering, and then or physical therapy.
Yeah.
And so I chose physical therapy. My mom was actually, she actually worked in a physical therapy clinic. So I'd go by there, listen, talk to the PTs, and I decided that's what I wanted to do.
What motivated you about that? Was it helping people? Was it just learning about the body?
Yeah, it was having to do with just physical nature of our bodies, of course, and seeing people get better, from being injured or after surgery, and watching them take steps to get better, and having someone who had the formal education to make it happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you was your degree in physical training? What
So yeah, my bachelor's degree was in exercise science, and then my master's degree was a 3-year master's degree. It was in physical therapy.
You went to school almost as long as a doctor. A couple more years.
Yeah, it was a long time, and at the time, NAU was the only physical therapy graduate program in the state.
Yeah.
So it was very, very competitive to get in. And I think now Arizona has, 8 physical therapy programs.
Wow.
So back then it was, just to get an interview was a big deal. And then, but they only interviewed 100 people out of like 1,700 applications, and then only 40 were accepted to the program.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it was, I think that was, this is just how I was meant to serve is, through physical therapy.
Yeah. Do you feel like because you were at NAU, it really helped prepare you for that graduate program?
I think so. I think, honestly, I think whatever I was going to do, what prepared me the most was probably the way my dad taught me how to think. So it was more about understanding things for application, and everything had a purpose. So there wasn't any wasted words or movements. So when I was at NAU, it was more about, okay, I'm learning this so that I can apply this information, not just to regurgitate it on a test to get an A.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, I've noticed that about you. I mean, you helped me through a torn rotator cuff and a replaced hip.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've seen that firsthand, and it's something I've always trusted in you and loved about you, is that we're right to the problem and we're fixing the problem. You know what I mean? Has that always been your nature, kind of? Is that came from your dad?
Yes. Yes. So, being in, aircraft mechanic, and then even us working on our cars when we were, back in those days, everybody worked on their own home and their own cars. And so it was all about understanding the system, how the system works, and then being able to, you understand each component of the system and its purpose. So then you can diagnose or evaluate what's dysfunctional and then fix it, because then you can get it working back again with the rest of the machine. So that thought process came from him teaching me how to think. So when I went through graduate school, that really became how I drove what I did.
So you're a body mechanic.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
I never thought about that's the way you put that together, like understanding the different components, analyzing what the problem is, diagnosing it, then fixing it. I guess that's exactly what you do.
That's exactly, yeah.
That's kind of exactly what your dad did too.
Exactly, yeah. And it's and even for all the athletes that we work with, I'll spend time with and like Jared Cannonier. Jared, what are you working on right now? What things are you trying to improve? And so he'll teach me what he's working on. And then my goal is to try to improve his positions and his dynamic stability, and then the quality of his movement patterns, and then add strength, and then add power on top of that, so that he can execute quickly. And so it's really like that's what you do with all the different kinds of athletes that come through, is understanding what their purpose is.
Do you think that's common in what you do? I mean, is that what it's supposed to be? I believe what you do.
Yeah.
But do you see other people do it a different way?
I do. I believe that the profession of physical therapy has gotten to the point where many physical therapists are in clinics where it's volume driven.
Yeah.
So they even getting out of graduate school, they don't have a chance to really learn, and they're learning themselves as they're practicing. So if they don't have the chance to learn from a mentor, then they're just trying to survive throughout the day.
Yeah.
So
it's like turning tables over at a restaurant.
Exactly. So you're just trying to get them in and get them out, and sometimes they're serving 3 or 4 tables at the same time, and they're also the cook.
Yeah.
So I think that is not, unfortunately, that's not the way it is. I was fortunate when I first started out that I was in a practice where I was afforded the time to learn and have conversations. And so that's what I have developed and created at ERIS, is giving the physical therapists time to learn, and then me mentoring them, and then basically working on their paradigm so that I can get them to the next level, much like you do as a coach with your athletes.
Do you think that people, and this is like totally off the cuff, but monetarily, if you see less patients, there's less money. Are people impatient with that when they're young in the
therapists?
Yes.
I think,
I know that's a strange question.
No, it's relevant because over the years, I feel that the value that ERIS provides for clinicians to learn and to thrive is a much higher value than if they were to just get a bigger paycheck.
I agree.
So, but I do try to be competitive with other companies. But it's gotten to the point where some of these larger corporations are, paying these therapists a lot of money, but they usually don't stay there very long because they're not learning anything, and that's not the nature of why you got into physical therapy.
Right.
We truly do want to help people, get better. And then even some of the difficult cases, which are, who are stuck and they haven't been able to get better, then they end up at my clinic. And so our job is to get them unstuck and then moving forward and give them hope, to get back to their life again.
Yeah, it's terrible to be injured, to have a chronic whatever it is, and not be able to function in your day-to-day life the way you have the freedom to do the things you want. Which ultimately I think is the coolest part of your job, is that you give people freedom in their lives, right? To do whatever, to move to Phoenix is full of older folks, right? It's a retirement community. So when I was in there, I saw a lot of older folks coming in, getting their movement back, getting their lives back. Pretty admirable. Do you think about that a lot?
And it's interesting because, we have a spectrum of patients that come in, from our high school athletes to our collegiate athletes to the professional athletes that come in that you send over. And then we have the patients who, they just work their whole life and now their bodies are breaking down, and we have to get them back to their life so that they can at least enjoy life. And our goal is to get them, to the point where they can do more than they were doing even before they had a hip replacement. We don't see as much of the older population in the past couple of years. Oh, we do still see them, but for me, it's I want my mom, and then even for me, I tell the therapist, when we get older, we're going to want a place like ERIS to go to. We want them to give us 100% of their attention and not look at us like, we're just going to get you to the bare minimum.
Right.
So even with the population that's a little bit older, we still try to get them to the point where they can be very active and get back to golfing or whatever they want to do.
Whatever. I mean, just living your life like you want to live it. So you, after you graduate from I was wondering when you started your bodybuilding. When did that start?
I didn't start bodybuilding until, I was always like working out, but I didn't start competing until the day before I turned 21.
Really? So what led you there? Was that something you started? Because you couldn't have graduated with your master's degree before you were like, what, 25 or 24?
I was 25 when I graduated with my master's. Yeah.
So you didn't start that until you were into your undergraduate career a little bit.
Right. So, it's always kind of like, had the physique for bodybuilding. And so it's, you have to have very balanced physique, top to bottom and symmetrical, right to left, all these things. And so people are always saying, Al, you should compete. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting up there in those little shorts, those little tights. So,
I'd call it a Speedo.
Yeah, it's Speedo. Yeah, it's Speedo. Yeah. So, but then I was like, I decided to do a show, and there was just a lot of people like promoters like, hey, I'd love for you to do my competition. I've a promoter for this next competition coming up. So I did that. I won the novice, won my weight class, and then I took second overall, and then I was on my way. So then I had a purpose to continue to train, while I was going to college. And 2 weeks later, I won another competition. And then about, I don't know, probably 8 months later or less, I won the overall title for a state show, beating the heavyweight, light heavyweight, all these things. I was the first in the lightest weight class to do that. And then 2 weeks later, I won the Mr. USA. So 9 months from my first competition, I won the Mr. USA, the NPC Mr. USA.
What changed in there? Like, so you were lifting already, probably applying the principles that you're learning to your own muscles, and then you just found that you were a knack. Did you have to diet a lot? Because
I was always really lean.
Yeah.
I did have to diet because when you get to that level, especially when you get to the national level, you're down at 2% body fat or something, like really low. A lot like the guys when they're making weight, someone like Marcus or Benson, they have that kind of body type, and their skin gets super thin, and that's what you want to show the greatest amount of detail. So there's dieting, there's cutting water, and then there's carving back up and then rehydrating but you have to do it to the point where you don't start to retain water over
Right.
the muscle, so
Right.
you don't decrease the
You got to
detail.
see those details.
Yeah, you have to be super detailed. Yeah.
How did you? I get because that's a while ago now, and like even now, people have trouble cutting weight and looking like they're supposed to. Diuretics were notorious in weight in bodybuilding, right? How did you? Were you always able to do that in a healthy way? Because
So I never took any steroids or human growth hormone or it's these guys they were doing all kinds of things, insulin and all
Anything
these
they
things.
could,
They're doing high ceiling loop diuretics. So for me, I didn't. My thing was if I can't do it on my own, I'm not going to do it at all.
I like that.
Right. So I just pushed myself. But there's some things just like the athletes that you have. There's some people that just have a natural ability, it's their gift.
Yes.
And so I was fortunate that I just had the gift of building muscle. But I mean, it took me a long time to build muscle. I didn't build it quickly, but my physique allowed me to add muscle and then didn't have to be as big to look bigger on stage.
Yeah. Well, that shredding part, was it less important to you? Not important in like, hey, I don't want to do it, but like you just did it naturally.
Yeah. Well, you had to diet, you're eating every 2.5 to 3 hours. I was drinking 1 gallon to 1.5 gallons of water a day. And then just training every day. So there's no, just like in athletics, there's not, I don't feel like going to the gym isn't a thing.
Right.
You go, you do what you have to do when you have to do it, whether you feel like it or not, and that's discipline. Yeah. So and to be the best at anything, you have to, be consistent. You have to be focused and you have to be disciplined. So that was what that got me there. And so the diet was just another thing that I did.
Part of it.
It was just part of it. It wasn't really a thing that I didn't look forward to. I just knew I had to do it.
Yeah. Have you heard Nick Saban talk about that? There's not a choice. If you want to be great, you don't have a lot of choices.
Right.
You have to do the things that you're supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not about sacrifice, really. You're not sacrificing things, you're making choices.
Yes.
Yeah.
To build. That's awesome. And that's a pretty young age. That's thrown back to your dad, I guess.
Yeah, oh, for sure. 100%.
Yeah. So what made you decide to not do it anymore? Did you just lose your love for it?
I competed on the national level for 12 years. It was really cool.
Wow.
Back then they didn't have Instagram and all these things. But it was cool to be like in all the magazines, be in Muscle and Fitness and Flex and all these magazines that aren't even around anymore. And to meet, some of these guys that were Mr. Olympia that would come to our competition to see who are going to be the next pros.
Right.
But then in 2003 was my last competition. My daughter was born right before that. So I was like, okay, I got 2 kids, I'm running clinics. I think I want to start my own company. That now it's not about me. It's just about my kids, my wife and my kids.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, because competing in anything especially a one-on-one sport, wrestling, fighting, bodybuilding, it's a selfish endeavor. You know what I mean? You have to be somewhat selfish with you. Like you're saying, your eating schedule every 2 hours,
right.
You're doing this, you're doing that. And there's just no choices to be made if you want to compete at the top. And then having children, that's not a selfish endeavor.
Right.
All of a sudden you're only about these other people.
Yeah. Now it's selfless and it's all about them.
Yeah.
And it's, I think what helped me though, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to compete at that level, and to push myself to be the best, that night.
Yes.
And I think that helped me with my children because I knew what it took to become the best at anything. It took all the same things, that consistency, that focus and that discipline. And so that's what helped my kids become Division I athletes.
Yeah. And probably helped you when you're working with the great athletes that you worked with, right?
Yes.
Understanding
that mindset.
You change it from sacrifice. I like that. When I was in a sacrifice,
right.
But the decisions that they made, you understand those. You worked with a lot of great athletes. Tell me some of them. Who sticks out in your mind?
The first, I would say the first, honestly, they're all, it's just like relationships with anyone.
Yeah.
They all kind of, there's a different experience with all of them.
Yeah.
And it's a unique, they're all unique people because when they're functioning at that level, and they have to be driven, self-driven, especially in a sport like MMA or track and field. It's interesting because for me, I spend time listening so I can understand how they think. Then it helps me coach them, so to speak, in terms of getting them better or getting them through the recovery process. But there's athletes that are really disciplined and they're like, Al, they don't make their next move without me,
right,
kind of thing. And then there are people like Benson Henderson. He's like, oh yeah, I didn't do much, just light, and then Maria would tell on him, and she's like, yeah, he wasn't just going light. So I find these things out. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm going to
adjust.
I'm going to try to coach him a little bit to be a little bit more, to kind of pull back. But all of the athletes, that I've worked with, I shouldn't say all the athletes, the ones that have been to the top or striving to get to the top, there's just a drive that's there, from working with Ben, who will push through. I mean, his leg could be falling off and he'll still stand up and keep moving forward. Jared Cannonier, same way. And then you have guys, like Kyler. I love working with Kyler. He's very grateful when he comes in. He just wants to get better. Marcus, same thing. Marcus McGee. And just that mindset that they have of I'm going to be the best. There's no doubt in their mind that they're going to be the champion. And then even the champions who are no longer the champion, like Henry Cejudo.
Yeah.
I've worked with Henry, Holly Holm, and the mindset that they have to become the best is incredible. And now working with Helen Maroulis, there's no quit in them.
Yeah.
So
you find that's a common thread in all of these guys?
I do. Yeah. There's no quit. It's almost that delusional confidence.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I can't do, and I think that's great. I think those are the people who make a difference in the sport.
Yeah.
Because they do things that people didn't think they would do or that were possible.
Well, I mean, to do exceptional things, you have to do exceptional things.
Right.
Things that nobody else wants to do
or willing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like overtraining is a problem with those kind of athletes? Is it hard for you to get them to pull back sometimes?
Yeah, I think overtraining is it's the fear of missing out kind of thing. I think there is a balance that they can strike, but it's hard for them sometimes to stop themselves because like taking a day off, they know someone else is practicing. But then there's the times where they are the ones that don't miss practice, whether they feel like going or not, whether they're tired. So, I've told athletes and told my kids, they would love to hear that you didn't feel like going to practice and that you actually didn't go.
Yeah.
So I think that drive can sometimes be tough to balance. But I think there is such a thing as overtraining. I've seen coaches drive their athletes into the ground, so where they're so tired on the day of competition that they don't perform. And instead of the coach making the adjustment, they just go into another practice and keep driving them into the ground.
Yeah, I was curious because I've heard people say there's no such thing as overtraining, right? I don't believe that. I've seen it. It leads to mental fatigue, and then it leads to physical fatigue, and then to injuries, which leads to worse performance.
Right.
Is there anything you do specifically to help with that? Like if you see them, I like it, you talk about having an individual approach with every athlete because I think that's important. You teach individual. I mean, it's individual, you and them in the workout. And these athletes you're talking about, Henry Cejudo, Helen Maroulis, like they're the best in the world. Holly Holm, Benson Henderson, they're all world champions in an individual sport. Do you have certain methods that you see and be like, hey man, maybe take Tuesday off?
I do. Sometimes, I have to interject that to them. I have to say that to them. Sometimes they'll ask, what am I okay to do? And I do have to kind of help them, hold them back a little bit, say, hey, it's okay. Take this day off. Give yourself a time to recover. Give yourself time to get a little bit more sleep because there's nothing like, and they usually recall what it feels like when they've had enough rest. There's nothing like that clarity that you have when you've had enough rest. The air is cleaner and cooler, and you just everything you can see better. So I try to appeal to that side of them, and some of them listen, some of them don't. You know.
Do you think that's the main problem fighters have when they're recovering is that they push too hard? Or do you find some people are like, hey, I don't want to push it yet, and they don't do enough?
Yeah, I think, there's the maturity, like Jared Cannonier.
When you get a little older,
yeah,
you have to be a little bit more responsible, maybe.
I think even with Jared, because I've been working with Jared for, I think, almost 7 years now. Yeah. And he's pretty good about following, well, for the most part, because I say, hey, did you take a break? And he goes, well, and so
yes and no.
Yeah, yes and no. So, but I think Jared is pretty good, about listening. Helen Maroulis actually is very good. She'll ask, what am I able to do? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? Victoria Anthony's another one. And then she'll call me. She'll be like, she's heading into sparring. She's like, hey, am I okay to do this, that, the other thing? And I always tell the athletes, after you get injured in your recovery, if you had surgery, then you have to warm up before you warm up, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's important. I remember Benson had bad shoulders in college, and he's always in there 20 minutes before doing the pre-warm-up for his shoulders.
Right, warming up before the warm-up.
Just to make sure you don't injure yourself. Is that something you find is better with older athletes too? If they've been injured and they know how hard they have to work to come back, are they more responsible later?
For sure.
Yeah.
When you're a certain age and you haven't been injured, you're invincible. It doesn't even factor into your head that that's a possibility of being injured. So I think once they are, they're willing to listen more.
Yeah. How do you? I was in doing the work for this. I've known Trey since he was 10 years old, and watched him, wrestle in high school and wrestle in college, and he was chronically injured in college. Like,
yeah,
what do you attribute that to?
So it wasn't really. Honestly, it was kind of like, he was the car, just driving down the street, and another car crashed into him. It was kind of those things that happened. His first ACL. So it was crazy because he wins nationals, right? Junior nationals, which is the highest level that a high schooler could ever win, because junior nationals is just juniors and seniors competing against each other. And everybody talks about Fargo. He won his weight class at 132 pounds in a 128-man bracket, takes out a guy named Andrew Alirez in the quarterfinals. 3 months later, there was a kid.
Alirez that wrestles at UNC now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he pins him in the quarterfinals. Trey was the 8th seed, and Alirez was the number 1 seed. So anyways, and then he goes on to win. Trey goes on to win. But so 3 months later, he's at practice. And there's a kid there who I didn't like my son wrestling against him because he was more dangerous than good.
Right.
He was like a forever white belt kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he tried to do something I've never seen him do before. He tried to do an inside trip, and he didn't change levels at all. He just pushed into Trey and hyperextended his knee. So this is something Trey didn't. He was just the situation. So we got him surgery, and then. The graft that was done back then, I tried to be dad and hands-off kind of dad and let the surgeon do his work because I knew the surgeon, and he used a hamstring graft, and it was just too thin. And so it wasn't going to make it in Division I wrestling. So it retore on a mat return. Oh, so we had to get a revision. He was at the Naval Academy prep, left there, and then came back, and we got the revision done. And then he signed with Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin in Madison. And then he recovered. Took a gap year, started at Wisconsin, and then he was at a tournament at Iowa State being a kid from NIU, 11-2. And so he deferred in the second period. So then in the third period, he went down, got up out of the bottom position, went in on a double leg, and he was trained by Angel Cejudo to take his double legs up and then come back down. But he ran the double down, and the kid did basically a lat drop, and they went over Trey's left knee and tore his left ACL. God. So it's kind of these things that happened, and it's unfortunate. It was tough to see, tough to go through as a father, because he was such a talented and hardworking athlete that, people like Tristan Moran, you probably know, who wrestled at Oklahoma State and Wisconsin, said, Trey has what it takes to become a national champion, but he that wasn't realized. But he says he wouldn't change a thing. He's learned so much from it.
Well, I mean, everybody, that's the way you have to look at life, don't you think? I mean, stuff happens to you and then you make your choices and you build into the person you're going to be. But I wondered about that because, you know, you're so great at what you do and you raising him, he had to be pretty understanding of what his body could and could not do.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he was as strong as a bear, you know, and mentally strong. And he was always good about coming back from any time he would lose. We would always get better. That was always the goal, is get better. But it was just circumstantial. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, he was just, like I said, he was the guy that was just driving his car to work and somebody crashed into him, you know.
That's too bad. He's such a great, but it's not too bad. The story is still going.
Yeah, still going.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
You know that old Chinese wise man that we'll see.
Yeah.
You know, hey, that was great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to be great. But I had wondered about that. Did you help him do the rehab on those things?
I did. So his actually all three, because when he tore, it was at Iowa State, the Iowa State tournament when his left knee was injured. And so they didn't do the surgery. That was like on November 9th. They didn't do the surgery until December. They waited till the season was, you know, like around the Christmas time. Season is still going, of course, but surgeon does it, the surgery out there, the Wisconsin surgeon. So I went back out there, brought him home for a Christmas break, and then he had to go back. And then for spring break, they sent all the students home, and it was COVID. So everybody came home, so he stayed home for the rest of the semester and that summer. So we were able to rehab him there, and you know, which felt good for me because I was able to get him there. And then he returned, and then he returned to wrestling again that next season.
How do you like Wisconsin's weather?
You know, he
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's cold, you know, but he got used to it, you know, and it's just kind of like, you know, you're there for a reason. It's not forever kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you know, he lives there now because he's, you know, a producer for the Big Ten Network.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah. So he's doing great work out there, and he knows Madison like the back of his hand, and he gets to travel. They send him to, you know, Big Ten conferences, championships, and nationals, and
that's really
in all the
cool.
different sports. Yeah,
that's super cool.
So he's having a lot of fun.
Know that.
Yeah.
Well, you graduate then from your master's degree, and what started you, like, where did you go to work before ERIS?
I was going to go into pediatrics. I was convinced I was going to go into pediatrics and work with kids. But then I did an internship at a company here in town. It was outpatient orthopedics, and I just loved the guys that were there. They had great chemistry, and you had time to treat your patients. And so I decided to go into orthopedics instead, and I stayed there for 5 years. And you know, I was kind of like their go-getter, make things happen. You know, I was starting to see all the VIPs, all those things. And then I was recruited by another company after about 5 years to open up new clinics for them. So I opened up 2 new clinics for them. And
but traveling around and doing it?
I opened up 2 new. One I opened, and then I ran it for a year and a half. And then they asked me if I wanted to open another clinic. So I opened up a second clinic, which is like, it was about 10,000 square feet. We saw the Suns, the Mercury, all these other pro athletes that were coming through. Wow. And so that just increased my exposure to the elite athletes.
Yeah.
And then in 2005, I decided it was time to open up my own practice.
So what does ERIS mean? I looked that up and it said a few things.
Yeah, there's the Greek god, you know, and then but it's basically an old. From what I understood at the time, when we came up with this name, it's just an old spelling of arise.
Yeah.
To rise up. So, and then I assigned a little acronym to it, you know, altruism, selflessly doing something for others, respect, integrity, and sincerity. So that's the operating software of my company. So it's, you know, always trying to selflessly do the right thing for others. We're demonstrating respect for each other as colleagues and for our patients, and for the coaches that trust us enough to send their patients. Integrity is, if we say it, we have to do it.
Right.
And then sincerity is just another word for honesty. So I'm going to be honest with my patients, honest with my colleagues, and then at the end of the day, I have to be honest with myself to know, did I do my best?
Was it something? Was it a name that you'd been sitting on, or did you
No, it was
brainstorm over it?
no, it was just a name that that seemed like it was the right fit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I never knew the acronym before. I like that
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
And so you start that 2005, you said?
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me about that, the growth of it and how it was.
So,
Well, you'd already
yeah.
trained to open places already, right?
So I learned a ton because basically with the company before that, you had to learn how to run it on your own. So you're just like, it was just your clinic. So I had to manage accounts receivable, accounts payable, hire, other HR issues, including, letting people go if need be, and marketing, getting the word out. So, and then at the same time,
Had 10 different hats.
mentoring these the PTs and taking students, and then and anytime there was a VIP, I was the one that would see them.
Right.
The surgeons would say you have to see Al, and then so I developed. That was great to work under that. That helped me understand what to do and what not to do, and helped me develop my own business.
So was the business part hard for you, or was it just easy? Or just another step?
It's no, it was, but it was definitely a process, to learn all that, and understand that you have to balance the practice of your business, of your art, physical therapy, just like in fighting, you have to balance the art of that, and then the business of an MMA gym,
Right.
or in my case, the business of physical therapy. So I had to make money to pay everyone. And so to balance that out, then it came down to, relationships, seeing patients, giving them the best care, and then going and collecting the money.
Yeah. That's awkward, though. I mean, I had a little gym when I started Mile High Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and I had great students. A bunch of them went on to get black belts and keep training and still training.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
that place was a business disaster. I did not do a good job. Did you ever have any problem with it, or was it just okay?
Not necessarily. The challenge is that you're always you can get stuck into the owner operator, where you never really are just the owner.
Right.
You're always in the operations side of
You're
it.
in the business as much as you're owning the business.
And a lot of times businesses are started by people who are really good technicians. They were really good at what they do.
Yes, sir.
And then they go out and they start a business, and then they still are the best at what they do in the business, and they're always helping to elevate others. And then, as you know, sometimes you elevate people to a certain degree, and then they go out and they do their own thing. So it's a compliment, as well as it's like a bittersweet.
Yeah.
Because then sometimes people may follow them. I've only had actually one therapist that started his own business. No, I take that back. I've had two. But some of them go off and they're directors for other clinics.
Yeah.
But it's a whole. They find out quickly.
It's not as pretty out there.
Right. Yeah. It's hand-to-hand combat. Making money. So
it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it really hard, and I love teaching and the collaboration of what we do so much. Not the business, not so much.
Yeah.
Kind of hate it, but it takes all of my time at this point. Do you ever feel like that, or do you have people that handle that for you?
I'm very fortunate. I've had ERIS for now 20 years, and having a solid administrative team is key. So like my office manager, Delana, absolutely love her, and I want to make sure that I treat her well and take care of her. She takes care of ERIS. She takes care of B, so to speak, because she's helped me take care of ERIS. And it's rare to find that kind of teammate.
Yeah.
And so that's the consistent thing, because the health professionals, I've had people that have stayed with me, between 5 and 7 years, but it seems that people move on a little bit quicker these days, and it's not as consistent.
It's kind of our society now, right? Everything has to be fast. You want the rewards fast. You want everything to happen quickly, but there's something to be said for just putting in the time and suffering through some things.
Right.
And grow. Like Trey was saying, he wouldn't trade the experience because it's going to make him into the man he's going to be. Same with all this stuff. People want it so quickly, they're not developing into who they could be.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, you're trading sometimes, unfortunately, it becomes down to money.
Yes.
And if you stay in there and you can demonstrate that you're almost indispensable, it's like that makes it so that I want to continue to invest in you.
Yeah.
But they may move on and just get more money, but it's not as rewarding. And they have come back and told me that, So then they may end up, some of them move back home if they don't live in Arizona, and I think some of them look back and go, you know what, I didn't realize how good I had it.
Yeah. Grass is always greener in almost every endeavor in life. Like a whole scope of people, whatever job you have, they have the same problems that you're talking about. If you're a lawyer, you train this young lawyer and he goes and starts to practice.
Right.
If you're a doctor, you raise this other person, and hopefully you do, because that means you've done a good job. But there is some frustration in that as well.
Well, I think the silver lining is I know that. And this may not sound humble, but I know that I invested in the time with all of the people that have worked for me. And I know that when they leave, they're better than they were when they came in.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they didn't do the same year every year. They were better, every year, every 6 months, every 3 months, they were getting better. And I make sure that I share that because I'm trying to help them. I don't try to hog all this information. It's like, only I can know this, so I spend time teaching them.
Yeah. How does that apply? I think that's true. You're a great teacher, and talking to you now, I can see, I knew it, but I didn't really look at it. How does that apply when you're teaching your kids? You say your dad taught you a lot. And Trey, we talked about him being a Division I athlete, but your daughter Ella's a Division I athlete as well.
Right. So she's track and field.
Yeah.
And she's, it's amazing. She went to Vanderbilt, ran track for them, and got her degree in mechanical engineering. So just going through mechanical engineering program is tough,
demanding
by itself, and then she's got another full-time job, so to speak, being an athlete. I have conversations with them every day. Like this morning I spoke to Trey about just, staying on it and being self-directed. As an entrepreneur, someone's not telling you how to make the business better. It's up to you.
Yeah.
So he's, working for the Big Ten. He does have projects, but then when things slow down, he has to direct himself and keep going. And sometimes for someone who's a high performer, that could be stressful.
Yeah.
So we just have conversations about these things and just continuous improvement. And then for Ella, it's very difficult. This track, she's getting her master's now. She's at University of North Carolina in Charlotte, getting her master's in mechanical engineering. And, it's very tough. It's very tough. So keeping them on track and saying, you're like right now she's halfway through graduate school. So I said, you're halfway across the lake. If you stop now and turn back, it's the same amount of effort distance. To give, so just keep going.
Yeah.
So for them, they know that, we say no one's coming and nobody cares, as much as you do. So you have to get the work done, whether you feel like doing it or not. And, it's the hard things that push you to become better or to quit, So, I tell them that, quitting is the easiest thing to start and the toughest thing to stop.
Yeah.
So I never let them quit, even when it was tough.
Yeah.
I just had to talk them or coach them through times so that they would move forward.
Do you feel like that's been an important thing for you with them throughout their lives?
Oh, 100%.
Helps build their character.
There's times Ella was, it's different stepping on a track and someone's in the next lane, and then you're going to run. You're running against the clock. You're running against other people, but you're running against the clock. In wrestling, it's either you or that other guy, right? And only one person gets their hand raised. And there was a time when he didn't want to do a tournament. This is like 7th grade. And he said, Dad, I said, my wife was like, he doesn't want to do the tournament tomorrow. He's really, like upset about it. He's real anxious about it. I said, well, let me find out what's going on. So I had to have a conversation with him to find out why he didn't want to do the tournament. And so I went through, showing him Mike Tyson crying, before he demolished a guy, and then looking at Michael Jordan in terms of all the things that he had to go through to become the best. And it's not just a guarantee, even if you do the work, that you're going to win. And so he said, Dad, if I only knew that I was going to win. And I said, well, son, we'd all like to know that we're going to win.
Amen.
And so, so at that point, I think there was a pivotal time, one of the pivotal times in Trey's life, where I could have let him quit. I could have said, you know what? I'm not going to put my son through this and let him quit. But if I did, then the next time that came,
it's easier.
If it got harder, like a tough tournament was coming up, then I'm like, okay, don't do this one either. So I wasn't going to let my son quit. So I said, son, we talked through it. He went to the tournament, and I think he took like third or fourth, and he was better for it.
Yeah.
And then there was another time he wanted to quit, and it was because he didn't want to wrestle with another kid that was like, he was a tough kid, and he wrestled him at state and beat him. But this kid was he was just like a rough kid,
End up fighting.
Yeah, that kind of kid. Yeah, you didn't know if you're going to fight. And I wasn't worried about Trey taking care of himself because he'd been training here for a while, So he didn't want to go to this practice, and he was telling my wife, I don't think I want to wrestle anymore. Huh. And so my wife's like, he doesn't want to wrestle anymore. We can't make him. I said, let me find out what's going on. So I found out what was going on. I said, he's like, well, Dad, I just don't want to wrestle. And I said, okay, what's going on? I said, you don't want to wrestle Josh Herrera. You don't want to practice with him. And I go, you're going to run into kids like this for the rest of your life, whether it's in wrestling or anything else.
Whatever you do.
You can't let a person stop you from accomplishing your goals. So we went to that practice, and when he was getting back in the car, I said, thank you, Dad. I needed that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So just don't let him quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would that be like a tenet that you would tell parents if somebody said, man, how do you be a good dad? Like what would you recommend for me to do with my kids?
Here's that's a big one for me. I taught my kids, I would tell my kids, and this is something that you probably wouldn't hear many parents say, I don't want you to try to become the best or get an A or score a goal because you want to make me proud, or your coaches proud, or your friends proud. You do it because you are doing your very best at that time to perform.
Yeah.
So is it not the right thing to do your best in anything you do? Is it not the right thing to respect your coach and make eye contact when they're coaching you? Isn't it the right thing to do your best in academics? So teaching them about doing the right thing, which was to do your best, instead of saying, you better win. Because I don't think they can't win because I want them to win.
Right.
And then the other thing that I think was huge was, and they still do it to this very day, and they'll do it for the rest of their life, is judging their own performance. I didn't want them to be reliant on somebody else's approval.
Yeah.
They had to judge their own performance, and more importantly, what was the outcome of my performance? And they can judge for themselves if their performance was ideal and the result was the desired result. And then they've been taught to make the adjustments. So I've even asked them, like, okay, Trey, how'd you do in your soccer game when you played soccer? He would say, well, you mean like an A through a D? And I said, yes. And he said, I think I give myself a B+ for today. I said, what are you capable of? He said, I'm capable of an A+. I go, okay, what would you do to get from a B+ to an A+? And then he tells me. So that we did throughout everything that they did. And then when they were disciplined at home, or anything they did outside the home that wasn't in line with our values, then they were disciplined for not following the value, not because they broke a rule.
Right.
So they would have to I would find the value, talk to them about it, and then they would make the adjustment.
That's awesome.
They would actually I'd have them write about it.
What the adjustment would
what
be.
They did, what value they broke, what they should have done, and what they'll do next, or what they're going to do next time.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Have you loved being a parent?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like
weird changes as it goes.
Oh yeah. It's I think that I love being a husband and a father. I love serving my family, to see them, become their very best.
Yeah.
So and I think in turn, when they have their own families, they'll do the same thing.
Yeah. That's a wonderful thing to teach.
Mm-hmm.
So are you able to, do you find time to personally train? Like, I
do at 4:30 in the morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So you go to bed at 6:30 at night now?
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, it's like, I work at the clinic, come home, Renee's amazing. She always has dinner for me, and she's a great cook. And so I ate
What's
a nice
your favorite
meal.
meal? What's your best thing that you love?
Oh gosh, she made like this chicken chili the other night. That's delicious. I mean, she's grilling, fillets or ribeyes. She does a great job. It always comes out perfect. Chicken enchiladas. I mean, she just, anything she decides to cook is amazing.
That's awesome.
She'd tell you she's not a great
Right.
cook, but she is.
That's awesome.
She is. It's almost like it's tough to go to restaurants because I
You guys
usually
so good at home.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, she's a great cook.
Well, then, so 4:30 rolls around.
Yeah, so 4 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, get to the gym at 4:30.
You work out at your gym?
No, I'll go to a gym in town.
Yeah.
So I'll go to Mountainside Fitness, work out, head home, and I usually kind of get my stuff ready the night before, kind of like my work clothes and everything, and then get home, eat, and then I'll actually lie down for a little bit before I start my day and just kind of rest. And then I usually pray, and then I get up and go to work.
That's awesome. Do you have specific goals when you're working out? Do you just have a pattern of things that you do just to kind of maintain?
I do. I do, because I work so hard, when I was bodybuilding. And then, of course, I trained my kids. So I would train them at the gym. If they needed therapy, then we would do stuff in the clinic and have them train there. But usually taking them to the gym at early in the morning. Right. So Trey would go with me at 4:30. Ella would go with me at 4:30 in the morning.
That's cool.
Be there at 4:30, sometimes 4 at some gyms that were open earlier, and they were up and ready to go.
That's amazing.
Ella was a little bit easier. Like she would, she was ready to go. Trey, I'd have to go. Hey, let's go, son. Let's go. Get up. But I would also run with them. Especially Trey when he was cutting weight. So, running miles, 6 miles or 8 miles or whatever it was, depending on, like, usually wouldn't have to be that long, but, sometimes we want, between 3 and 6 miles. Wow. And to get his weight down or get him conditioned. But yeah, they're both like Trey called. He's like, I already got my workout in this morning. I ran. Now I'm heading to work.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Letting you know that the habit stuck.
Yeah. And it becomes a part of who you are, your lifestyle.
Do you still enjoy it?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Is it a challenge? Are you able to look at it like that? Because some people it gets to be a little bit like, oh gosh, and it's hard to keep up with because of that. How do you keep that from being like that?
I think I just want to stay ready.
Yeah.
So I want to stay fit. Part of that is, just my health. My dad passed away when he was 61, but that was because of the elements, being around all the jet fuels. And back then all the Marines smoked.
Yeah.
So keeping myself healthy, I don't have to worry about those kind of factors. I don't drink, I don't smoke or anything like that. But I want to stay healthy. And it's just part of who I am. I want to stay strong. I want to be fit. And, and it would be great. Like, plans of, getting back here to train again, just to have something to continue. You're always learning.
Yeah. Well, the discipline it takes to do that, that's something that through this conversation, I've realized you're a very disciplined person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that comes from my dad.
That's awesome.
As a Marine, pushing us to make sure we get things done.
He would be so proud of that legacy too.
Yeah. He would. What I mean? Yeah, he would not be able to stop smiling just seeing just the things that I've accomplished as a husband, father and husband, but then to see his grandchildren.
I was just gonna say, two generations of discipline and hard work.
And it makes a difference. You can either pass on a blessing or a curse, and so I took what he gave me, what the good Lord gave me, and do my best to multiply those talents. And then I've taught my kids to do the same thing, to multiply the talents that they've been given.
That's awesome. So what's next for you? Just keep building, watching them kids grow?
Yeah, that's it really. I have to, one of the things, like the conversation I had with my son is like, you have to be self-directed and come up with your own new goals. And, just doing things, I think now it's staying healthy. And at some point when I decide to retire, I'll still stay productive in something. and travel, but you can only travel so much, and you can only work out so much. So I'm thinking about what that next thing is going to be, whether it's building another business or being part of another business.
Yeah. Do you see yourself mentoring people that open therapy centers?
I would see, in a situation where, say, I would decide to retire and I sell ERIS, I would like to see ERIS continue to have the effect or the impact it has had on the community, and to offer the things that you've wanted from ERIS, or you've come to know from ERIS. And it would be nice if there was a company out there that wanted those same things, and I would be willing to mentor them.
Those values.
Those values, carry those through and mentor their directors and clinicians to do the same. Or I might go into teaching at the university when it comes to functional biomechanics, to offer that, because I think that's a component that they don't really have time to teach when they're in PT school. So a lot of times it depends on their internship that they go to, in terms of their ability to have that kind of education.
I didn't know you were but obviously you would be. You're such a great teacher. Boy, what a valuable tool that would be for some school, some university.
Yeah.
Boy, I can see that clear as a bell right now.
Yeah.
And then that way you get to keep giving and serving just like you have for your whole life. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come by.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
It's been fun. I learned some stuff today that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Boy, you've saved some fights for us, and always been, you're my first call whenever something happens. And especially, you saved UFC title fights for us.
Yeah. It was like Benson.
Yeah.
When he fought for the title, I remember getting the call from you, and it was about 3 weeks out, and he had pulled his groin. And as you know, Benson doesn't show any weakness, but he came in limping.
Yeah.
So he's hurt.
If he's limping, something's wrong.
So we worked on him I worked on him for 2 weeks straight, including Saturdays and Sundays. And then he went to Japan and beat Frankie Edgar for the title. And then, I've had like Brian Barberina, when he hurt his back. Kyler, Mario, both of them about a week or 2 weeks out of fight.
Remember when Mario popped that rib?
His rib, yeah. And so, similar thing happened to Jared before he fought Anderson Silva. And so when I get the call from you, I have to evaluate, okay, how serious is this? Am I going to put them in harm's way if I say you're good? Or if it's not that bad, they can do it. It's not going to cause any more harm. And so I don't put any doubt in their mind and say, hey, you're good.
Yeah.
Go out there and I told Jared, I said, go over there and knock out Anderson Silva. You're good.
Well, I should listen to you.
Yeah.
He did it. I find that when we talk about this, and we don't talk extensively, but we talk a lot when those injuries happen. But like, hey, we need to be good on that day. So don't worry about today.
Right.
Let's just do today, and then we'll get to tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be this much better. By the time we get there, it'll be great.
Right.
But man, you've been so instrumental for us.
Oh, thank you.
And I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Oh, of course. My honor to do
You're the man.
This.
I appreciate you. ERIS Physical Therapy, been around for 20 years
20 years now. Over 20 years, yeah.
Gosh, didn't it go by in a blink?
Faster than I thought it would.
The lab's been here for almost 20 years. It'll be 20 years this year.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember when you guys opened.
Well, thank you, my brother.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Excellent.
All right, thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bring the band in.